Live from Dallas and Fort Worth, this is CBS 11 News at 5.
Finally, after waiting all this time, I'm going to be able to hug my kid.
After nearly 3 years, North Texan Trevor Reed is now out of a Russian prison and will soon be headed back to America. This is CBS 11 News at 5 o'clock. I'm Doug Dunbar. We welcome you. The former United States Marine was serving a 9-year prison sentence for a conviction of assault in Russia. His parents have fought for his release since day one. They've been concerned about his health along the way as well. Our team coverage today. Let's get underway with our Ken Molestina. Ken, the negotiation and what we saw happen today, very rare.
Rare is correct. No other way to describe that, Doug, especially when you consider the current tensions right now between Russia and the U.S. over Russia's invasion of Ukraine. But alas, it was a carefully orchestrated prisoner swap that has led to the Marines' release. Now, you're going to recall that Trevor Reed was originally arrested and subsequently convicted in Russia back in 2019. At the time, there were charges that he was drunk and that he assaulted Russian police officers. These are allegations that both Reed and his entire family denied the entire time, but he was still sentenced to 9 years in prison for it. So overnight, Reed was released in exchange for Russian pilot Konstantin Yaroshenko, who was convicted of drug trafficking. Yaroshenko was serving a 20-year sentence in a Connecticut prison for conspiracy to smuggle cocaine into the U.S. White House officials say these negotiations had been going on for months, and in an interview with CBS Evening News anchor and managing editor Norah O'Donnell within the last hour, the Reeds talked about what had been happening behind the scenes leading up to the release today.
We had some indications from the State Department over the last few days that something, might be coming, so that we should be, be possibly ready. And then we got the call in the early morning hours today that it was happening.
We were totally excited, over the moon. We couldn't believe it. We haven't spoken to him in a little bit, so it was great to hear his voice, and knowing that he was on a plane headed home made it that much better.
Joey and Paula Reed just a little bit ago, of course, awaiting the arrival of their son. Much more of that interview with the Reed family in just about 25 minutes on the CBS Evening News with Norah O'Donnell. Now, we spoke about this being a rare negotiation earlier, but Doug, this could also set a precedent for 2 other releases of Americans in Russian custody. We're namely talking about former U.S. Marine Paul Whelan and WNBA star Brittany Griner.
Yep, more names to be concerned about. Ken, thank you so much. Reed's parents, who Ken talked about, aren't the only ones celebrating the news today. So are U.S. officials who worked on his release. Our Jason Allen live outside the family home tonight. So the Reeds had appealed to basically all levels of government based on what they've told us over the last couple of years, trying to figure out exactly who could help them.
Yeah, and they found wide support for those appeals, Doug, really from both sides of the aisle and obviously from within the State Department as well. And as Ken mentioned, even with the country's current situation with Russia, the family always believed that there were ways to make this day happen. After years of people working to free Trevor Reed, Representative August Pfluger held a sign in Washington Wednesday that declared Trevor Reed is free.
And it's patriotism over politics in this case, where I believe everyone recognized the importance of leaving no one behind. And that's exactly what has happened in the case of Trevor.
Pfluger sponsored a resolution in Congress last year calling for Russia to release the former Marine. Once the Reed family realized legal remedies in Russia were probably a lost cause, they started relying more on public pressure and the influence of government officials at the state and national level to lobby for their son's release. Senator John Cornyn Wednesday said he was beyond relieved, and I applaud the president and State Department officials who worked behind the scenes to secure Trevor's release. President Biden said his safe return is a testament to the priority my administration places on bringing home Americans held hostage and wrongfully detained abroad.
It does give us confidence to know that, regardless of who may be in control politically, that there are those Americans in some of those positions that are going to continue to do everything possible to put patriotism over politics.
Pfluger told me today it was really a relief to see this, given what is going on right now in Russia and Ukraine. And Doug said he also said that there is just as much support to have this same outcome for other Americans who are there as well.
Yeah, I think what you just related is a bit of a surprise considering everything that's going on. Jason, thank you very much. And we know from the very, very beginning, Joey and Paula Reed have done basically everything they could to try and secure their son's freedom. Karen Border with a detailed now look at those very efforts.
It's been a long fight for Reed's parents, one they say started with trumped-up charges and a country not known for being truthful.
August 2019. Marine veteran Trevor Reed was in Russia visiting his girlfriend. He drank too much at a party and was picked up by police, who later claimed he attacked 2 officers.
They asked me what happened. I told them I don't know. I was drunk. I don't remember anything after I was at this party with Lena.
In March 2020, his father, Joey Reed, traveled to Moscow to testify on his son's behalf.
The investigators and the police officers kept changing the story.
Despite a lack of evidence and questions about the officer's credibility, Reed was convicted of assault and sentenced to 9 years in prison.
And now we believe it's happened for one reason. He stumbled into the police custody because he was intoxicated, and once they saw they had a former United States Marine, they said, we're going to keep this guy.
His parents spent months meeting with lawmakers and pushing for his release.
We're fighting for Trevor's life to come home so he can continue on with the life that he had before.
They went to Washington, D.C. last summer, joining a group of House members in calling for Reed's release, as Reed himself spoke from behind bars.
I spent my whole life in the service of my country, and I would appreciate it if my country would bring me home.
Then another twist in February, when Russia invaded Ukraine. Reed's parents ramped up their calls to bring him home, holding up signs outside an event in Fort Worth in March, where President Biden gave a speech. The move worked. Mr. Biden called the Reeds as they stood on the side of the road.
He kept saying over and over again how horrible he felt that he couldn't stop. And he wanted to let us know that Trevor is something that he thinks about every day.
3 weeks later, they moved their protest to Washington. Again, their strategy worked. They were invited to meet with the president that day, spending 40 minutes with him in the Oval Office.
We know the president listened intently to everything we had to say. He was just wonderful man to speak with, and hopefully we convinced him that, we need to get our son out of there before it's too late.
Karen Borda, CBS 11 News.
And now we know what's happened. And just so you know, we're expecting to hear more from Joey and Paula Reed in about a half an hour or so. When they speak, we will be streaming it all live for you. You'll find that on CBS News Dallas Fort Worth, and that's available through our CBS DFW app. Quick download between now and then if you don't have it already.